welcome back. Right? Welcome back.
We're back. And we're live.
Yeah, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm going to apologize sincerely in advance, so for whatever mistake I might make during this talk segment.
She is heated.
Right? I am actually really upset.
Deep breaths.
Right? So the video, let me try to describe it for you. Right? Let me try to describe it for you. If you want to hit us up, 4301043, that's the WhatsApp number. If you want to call, 4571043. Let me just describe it while it is playing in front of me. It is dark. It's close to midnight, and the adult, obviously looking, probably calling the child, and they're pointing at the bicycle in the road. Now you get the child, you grab the child by the neck, grab the child by the collar, and the first thing you do is you fling the child on the ground. The article on St. Vincent Times says the child is 10 years old, right? So let's go with that. The child is 10. You boxing, you thumping, you flinging around the child, you holding the child by the back of the neck behind here. You know like how you hold dogs when you're trying to catch them? Right here, to the back. And letting go some serious blows on this child. Thumping up the child and flinging the child multiple times on the ground in the middle of the night. In the open road. Which does not make it good. It does not, listen. You even fling the child into the bike. And then you could see at the beginning, right? There's another person who is just, I don't know if you guys could pick it up, like you could just glimpse that the person is still sitting there. Just watching on. And you're scuffling the child in the middle of the road. Could you imagine what happens behind closed doors? What could a child, if the child is really 10 years old in primary school, what could that child, and you, Lord, you put the child down on the ground and you're beating the child on the ground. Vincentians do not even beat rapists like this. People who you know rape, you don't even beat them like this. What could a child do to warrant this kind of licks? What? That is not even licks. That is abuse. Abuse. Don't tell me it's the first time, because this clearly cannot be the first time. Could you imagine that this happens to other children in our society? Huh? What is discipline? Letting go some box and thump on a child who's vulnerable and can't fight back? And you know they can't fight back. So the child comes home late. You're frustrated. Yes, we might get that. But that's reason for you to Lego blows on a child? The video is still playing as I'm speaking. And the child is still getting licks. You see how much time passed? And you wonder why so many adults are walking around traumatized. That's how you discipline a child. Huh? And that is acceptable? 3 weeks ago? Video gone to the police. What did the police do? Villagers said the police didn't do nothing yet. Imagine what happens behind closed doors. Imagine how long this has been going on. The child is on the ground again, eh? I'm letting the video play while I'm talking. The child is on the ground again. Kicking. Probably screaming too. A child. And y'all let rapists walk freely in our society. And you just watch them and it's comfortable and it's acceptable. Your responses. Call us and talk to us and let us know how you feel. If you have similar stories, feel free to share. But what is the right way to discipline a child? This is not it. I can tell you up front, it's not it.
Why is it that we always run to that kind of physical beating, though. There's so many other alternatives that you could do to punish someone without inflicting pain on them.
You could take away the bike. You could take
You
away
know-
the tablet. You could take away the phone. Sometimes our children are lashing out because there's something wrong. Sometimes our children, all they need is somebody to talk to and somebody to listen. When a child lashes out, it's because something is wrong. It doesn't always warrant licks and blows and abuse. Sometimes it makes the situation worse. A child, he is growing up. And more than likely, some of our children grow up being abused and in turn abusing their children. You see how it continues? And until we as adults can stop and accept responsibility and be accountable and say this is wrong, it will continue. Come on, man. You as a big, hardback human being cannot see that there's something wrong with treating a child like this? Crash, read the responses because I'm just really upset right now. On the WhatsApp. The phone over there, man.
Them type of abuse to boys make them timid and they become fruitcake or killers.
Fruitcake. What's a fruitcake? I don't know. That's a term that
I don't know that one.
I don't know.
Someone said, oh my God, that's crazy. Someone is saying, stop abuse our children. It hurts my heart to see that video.
Let me put the voice on.
Yeah, morning again, extreme, morning again. Now, in terms of with the beating and the child and stuff, right? Is it that because most grandparents now are younger, that they're more frustrated and they don't know how to deal with kids or something? I don't know. Because right now, beating a child, what's the reason for it? What's the reason behind it? Did she sit down and explain to the child, okay, all right, this is where you're going to get your tail bust? And to that extent, nah, could never be warranted. Could never be the right thing.
Well, I got the millionaire fruitcake. Thank you very much.
I don't think sometimes parents really consider the impact what happens when you beat a child in that way, the long-term negative effect. I think parenting skills on a whole, we just inherit stuff continuously. Like we grew up getting licks from our parents, we do the same. We don't realize like, hey, there are other ways and means. Like you could sit down, talk to the child, have a civil conversation. And it also factors into things that we try to hold so much away from our children that when they do stuff, we just think like, hey, the only thing is for you to get some licks. We don't think it through and say like, hey, probably if you like, as he was mentioning, you like to go to football, you can't go to football today because you know you stayed out late last night. You know I don't like when you're out late. You have me worrying, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You try it, and sometimes you need to talk to your child. Hey, if you know you're out somewhere late, give me a call. Let me not be home worrying.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a cell phone now. You know, it's just incorporating how we do things now. You have another voice note there?
Yeah, I mean, while it is coming around there,
Yeah.
to coming up the stretch. Hold on for it coming.
And sometimes you could take your child if the child is a constant misbehavior. Sometimes you could go take them to counseling. Sometimes they don't feel comfortable talking to you because they know you're gonna go and beat them if they say something out the way that offends you. So it's all about how you deal with these situations. I mean, I don't know what transpired, but looking at the video, it's very
You don't know, I don't even
disheartening.
care.
It's disheartening.
I don't.
It's very,
give a
very
rat's
disheartening.
ass.
Someone is saying here,
Okay.
also, I experienced a lot of licks from my grandmother before her mom sent for her in the States.
Send for me.
Sent for me in the States. You cannot call on WhatsApp for this caller who's calling.
4571043, or you could send us a voice note, all right? I would have called you back, but no longer sense in this thing here. Children need safe spaces.
Yeah.
A part of the story says that the mother, if I read correctly, the mother passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the grandmother's, like the story says, grandmother's responsibility. So could it be that, has he healed from that trauma? Because losing your mother is traumatic, depending on the age that he lost the mother. It says the father lived on the leeward side of the island. That could be another thing that is upsetting the child. But you see, sometimes adults do not think of children as human beings as well. The same sort of feelings that we go through as adults, children experience them too. Of course, it's very different because they are understanding things differently. But what is stopping you from having a conversation with a child, as you said? What is stopping you from trying to reason with that child? Or children don't deserve reasoning.
Get some.
They don't deserve talking to. It's just hard and fast, licks in your backside. You don't do this. Licks, 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 licks. Come on. You can start simple. Conversation. Reason. You'll be surprised how much the child understands.
True. And if you can't reach out to that child, you could get someone to do it. You know, you find a trusted person who could talk to the child and be like, you know, who the child feels a bit more comfortable with. Because sometimes the child is scared. You've been beating me for years and you want me to open up to you and tell you, hey, this is the problem. This is what I'm facing.
No,
it's
sir.
It's not going to happen because
No, sir.
the child has a fear inside of them now. Like, hey, if I tell you something, it might trigger your reaction and then there's more licks. So then now you have a child who has a lot of emotions and stuff built up inside of him or her, and they just lash out by doing things.
You wonder why?
And it affects them in the long run. It affects them in their everyday life, in school, and it leaves a scar on them going forward in their life. As we call it, trauma. And sometimes you don't know why persons do certain stuff in society and we just label them as bad persons.
Especially girls.
Yes. You know?
Girls who, quote unquote, run away. What are they running away from and what are they running to?
And sometimes we don't know these underlying factors. So, I mean, it's just a way of getting to change the way we do things. Especially with corporal punishment. Because, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I was a hard little boy.
You get plenty to live?
Yeah, my mom cut my tail. I mean, sometimes it was, she even did it in the road. Yeah.
Did it help you?
I would not necessarily say it did. I did look back and at the situation at the time, I was like, you know what, I really didn't need to do that. It wasn't really so much for the licks. It was me looking back at the situation and saying, hey, boy, you know what I'm doing? That was really wrong. You know, I could have prevented that licks. Because at the end of the day, a child that thinks has licks like it. To me, I was like, boy, the licks going cool off. But we really ain't solving the problem because I'ma still do it if she's not there. And I mean, I don't mean to give that impression like, you know, but it's just how you do things, man. Sometimes if you know you didn't grow up in the best home as a parent, don't beat your child. Don't. Because you have all this anger built up inside of you and you pass it along. It's just like a what do you call it? Generational curse. It just passed along the line. It just keeps going.
Where you think it come from?
Yeah.
This beating. Let's go back to grandparents,
yes.
great grandparents,
Yeah.
great grandparents.
And a lot of parents have a lot of trauma in them, and they just pass it down, and it's like a constant cycle. It just passes down. Instead of you pass down generation wealth, you pass down generation trauma. Someone is saying here that video hurt my heart. That is pure wickedness. I think that child needs to do a checkup at the doctor. Yeah, because I see he fell down on the bike, and she just kept going,
just
and
punching in the stomach and punching in the back.
Yeah.
And listen, our society is a combination of people who have just passed on generational trauma and people who have stopped and said, listen, this is wrong. I have to take that bold, mature step and correct myself so that I don't pass it on to somebody else. My son, my daughter, my children. Not even like your own children, because sometimes people become parents to children who are not their own. You have to take accountability for your actions. You are an adult. And I'm speaking to you specifically. You are an adult.
Sometimes
You know what you're doing?
Sometimes, Crystal, they don't. That's the thing.
Maybe they may not be able to pinpoint where it came from, but you can't tell me you sitting down there and letting go blows on a child, flinging the child on the ground,
You have to
busting
understand.
up the child's face. I'm not speaking specific to this one.
Yeah, but
Bruising up the child's body.
during the heat of the moment, Crystal, those things don't pass. They don't come to mind.
So after you've relaxed yourself,
That's when you realize.
you
hey,
realize you realize you're doing something wrong.
For some persons, they'll be like, hey, I give you a good cut,
Do it again.
a good cut tail. You should learn from this. But that doesn't mean that it helped the person who inflicted it. They just look at, hey, that's how I was taught to correct you when you do something wrong. They don't have an idea that it's wrong.
To watch your child bleed.
Yeah, they don't care.
To watch your child bleed.
I remember.
You don't see nothing wrong with that.
No. Some persons don't.
God
I remember
bless you,
seeing a parent beat her son with guava stick. The guava, and that is a very hard thing. And the young man had cuts and bruises, and she beat him, and then she bam, that's it. She beat him, and then bam,
That
send him
used
inside.
to happen in slavery.
Yeah. I was saying, some parents are not aware of those stuff. They just look at it like, hey, you won't do it again.
Okay. Let me talk to you right now. Listen. If you are a parent or guardian and you're letting go them similar blows on your child, pay attention. It is not right and you can get help. It is okay.
There's the Marian
The
house.
child does not deserve, trust me, the child does not deserve, and you did not deserve it either. Okay? I know you might be feeling a certain way because you felt that when you were growing up. You got that. And you're probably thinking right now that it helped you, but did it really help you? Can you imagine a life without having them kind of blows and without having them kind of memories? You could get a little help. You understand? There are places to go to get help. If you are an adult and you are thinking and you are doing this to your child or somebody else's child, it is not right. You could get help. It's okay.
I also think like villagers should, they said, we always use this term that a village raise a child.
Takes a village to raise a
Takes
child.
a village, yeah. If you see someone inflicting pain, that kind of punishment to a child, you could step in. Be the bigger person.
Wasn't that attempted? There was another clip that I saw where two adults were
I
standing
know,
there.
and sometimes you have to realize it's not that you're gonna go in this situation and just be like, oh, and you handle it as best as possible. You go in the situation and you're like, hey, understand you're frustrated at the moment. You put the person there, you hold them, you put them to sit down. It's like, hey, you talk on both sides. Hey, how you beating that child is not really the way you should do it.
The child needs to be removed.
Yeah, sometimes we might look at that as the best solution. But it also it brings discomfort in the home. It depends on
But
how
you are
severe
also
it is. You have to.
that wasn't severe.
Huh?
That wasn't severe.
Yes, it was.
But I'm speaking specific to this case now.
Uh-huh.
To what we saw.
Yes.
Child needs to be removed.
Removed.
That guardian,
Uh-huh.
right? The caretaker.
I think she's probably frustrated.
Okay.
Because judging from
We
the
understand-
time,
we
so
understand
you
the
can't just label
frustration.
it. You can't just label it. Probably she did talk to him. I don't know the whole story behind it. But if it's something where it's a constant abuse, yes, the child should be removed.
So assessment, and then you go forward from there.
Yes, I would suggest that.
But you know, in other places, right? That one-off situation would
Would.
warrant the child being removed from the home.
Yes.
But here we have to assess, then remove.
Well, we have to make some steps. How we can with what we have.
The system down there for you guys, all right? They're on Facebook. They have a number. We'll get the number for you, all right? For future or for present, perhaps. But there are places that you can go to get help. There's Marion House. There's
The Child Welfare Department. Or that does
the name's slipping me right now. I'll get it though. I'll
Child
get it.
Protection Unit.
No.
No.
I'll get it for you, but I'll get it. All right. Assess our culture. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Me again for the special phone, and I'll get back sometime to call back. That video is very, 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 very disturbing to me. Because no child in my eyes could do anything to warrant such violence against a child. And I've mentioned this before on this radio station or the radio station on my Facebook platform that the relationship between a parent and a child should never be a master-slave relationship. Meaning the parent is the master and the child is the slave. When I grew up, I was a slave to my grandmother. I love she to death. I wish I could bring she back today if I can, but I was a slave. Because my grandmother used to tell me, shut up and don't talk until me and my friend don't start coming. And I couldn't talk. Even if I had to go to the bathroom, I couldn't talk because I was deemed as rude. So now, fast forward to 2020, and you see the grandmother, they know, who beating that child. The grandmother was indoctrinated in that type of society. That you have to beat a child in order to get discipline out of them. But what I see is the arm of the big tree called slavery. Slavery abolished, but it not abolished. What we saw there was an arm of slavery. And what upsets me most about the situation is that they say the video was forwarded to the Georgetown police station, and to this day nobody's been picked up or no investigation is commenced. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
You see,
I'm gonna all
It's our society though. For
It
us,
is.
it's not a serious thing.
Exactly, but hear what I always default to when I see violence against women and children. The United Nations Security Council see that we proud of to be on, which rightfully so we are proud to be on that. But one of the points of getting a nomination for the United Nations Security Council, St. Vincent and the Grenadines told the United Nations and the Vincentian public we're going to increase safety for women. We're also going to increase safety for children. How long we've been under the United Nations Security Council seat? Time and time
Well, it
again,
has
we have
ended.
opportunities
2 years
to
done.
prove that we wasn't telling lies. This is an opportunity for us to prove to the Vincentian people that we're going to increase safety for children. And you mean to tell me nobody can pick up the grandmother and say, yo, the woman, he needs some kind of mental rehabilitation. She needs some mental rehabilitation, and we need to put forth the things that violence against children does not work. What the grandmother could have do is take up the bike and take the wheel off of the bike and say, what, for the next week, you can't go ride bike with your friend of them. Whatever it is. And we just need to have an intervention there because I couldn't even watch the whole video because it sick my stomach, boy. It sick my stomach to see a 10-year-old child, and it was a man standing across the street. It took him so long to intervene. Thank God some people come and try to save the child again, because what if the child fall on and hit his head and had a concussion and dead? Then what? She not be mean to kill him? We gotta do better than that, man. We have to do better than that. Thank you guys for talking about it. And we have to continue to talk about it because talk is what leads to change and change is what is needed. Big up all yourself. When you see I didn't bring in religion,
You didn't bring it in because I told you. All right, thank you. God forgive me, but I never had love for my grandmother. Grandmother like us some licks.
See, it's a big thing because sometimes people just, that's all you know. That's all you know how to deal with. In
But
terms of,
you're big though.
yeah.
You're big and
You
you're
know,
an adult and you're
sometimes
exposed.
we're big, and
And,
sometimes we're not aware of things.
Well, we're making you aware
Right.
this morning, right? Every chance we get, because there are plenty of things to talk about.
You know, there's a saying. I think this is biblical. It's not always that God's spirit is in man. Am I saying it right?
I don't know, boss.
Am I saying it right? I think it's something like that.
I don't
So,
know.
as Max
Yeah,
was saying,
so
oh,
Google it.
suppose it did. Suppose that was a different outcome. Suppose she did hit him and he passed away or something.
And then what you would have said?
That would have been a different scenario this morning.
Okay, let's get another voice note.
Good morning, Extreme Family. Well, I just tuning in, just come to work, and I haven't seen the video, but the way you're talking about it, I would say, if it was in Toronto, that lady would have been praying every day to see that kid again, because she'd have never seen that kid again.
Here we just leave them in the same.
Someone has a question for you, Crystal. You said the child should be removed from the home. To go where?
This system has places that they put children.
The
Boys, they put boys and they put girls.
I know
System has
there's
a place to deal with that.
the boys training center. In
I know that there's where is it again? In
Lodge Village.
I think it's Lodge.
Right, the boys, boys
That's what
training
it's called.
center.
I'm not too sure the
Lodge,
exact.
Liberty Lodge,
right,
boys,
right,
Liberty
right.
Lodge training center.
I'm not too sure if that's where they take all of them, but I know that the system has something in place for removal of children from homes. All righty then. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up this segment here. Actually, before we do that, let's get one more in real quickly.
That gentleman who just spoke about slavery and everything, it's funny, just a couple of weeks ago I was talking to a good friend of mine about that slave thing. That we still have that slave mentality where licks and them kind of thing they will work. Yes, that is what worked for us. And even still, we as big people, shucks, we still are changing some of we walk this ways. But then this is a new generation coming up. They have a totally different way of thinking with a lot of things. I'm living with a 12-year-old. I have my son who's a 12-year-old. And I see certain things in him that I used to do. But then I can't go and punish him and treat him the same way that I was brought up. So we need the change, like what the brother said, we need change. We need change with these things. And we need a better system to protect the children them. You understand? And I think that the police in Georgetown should be held accountable too for this. Because somebody bring a video to you of a situation like that. There should have been something done already about that. Because God knows what happened since that video come up. Maybe the child don't get the tail beat up already. They should carry that child for x-ray and all them things, some medical attention, because you don't know what happening in town in that child, you know.
Good morning, radio family. Too many times we as Caribbean parents believe in the biblical saying, spare not the rod and spoil the child, to justify beating a child. But is beating a child the real interpretation of that scripture? I do not believe so. Nowhere in the Bible I have ever read where a parent disciplined their child through physical punishment. The Bible says, train a child the way they should go, so when he or she grows up, they would not depart from it. If we teach our children that physical punishment is okay, in the context of getting a beating for doing something wrong, then why are we as a society, why should we be so surprised when our children grow up to be abusers? That's what they were taught. and it's unacceptable as a child. We need to break that generational curse. How do we break that generational curse? How do we bring about some sort of change? You gotta change yourself. That's the only way.